All right, everyone, welcome to Best Choice Realty's conference call. We are going to be talking about our listing presentation tonight. And I do have a few guests with me today, but I have muted everyone so that I don't have any background noise as I go through our listing presentation. So if you do have questions as we go through this, maybe take a few notes down and send me an email later. Or if you'd like to stay on after the call, I will take a few questions if there are any. Next week, we're going to be covering the CMA, but I think I will kind of start to introduce the CMA because that's when you would want to do it, is when you sit down to do the listing presentation. You would then want to segue right into the CMA and get their buy-in on that. I had the fortunate opportunity to go ahead and meet with a buyer last week who I had helped him purchase a HUD home in Federal Way back when I opened the company. So it's been almost 7 years since he purchased the condo. He got a really good deal. And so I will kind of go over what that looks like. We did a presentation, both Jerry Kay and I went out to do the presentation, and we used the presentation that I'm going to show you tonight. So there are some good talking points and takeaways that might help you when you're doing your listing presentation. And maybe you'll learn also as you practice, you'll learn what not to do, and you'll almost be able to self-teach yourself. If you're running into some roadblocks, practice with other people before you do it for the real thing. So tonight we're going to go over the actual listing presentation. Then we will cover how you segue into the CMA and maybe some tools that I use that will help you get the listing presentation and segue into the CMA, and then also go right on into getting the listing agreement signed. So let's jump in real quick. I'm going to jump into the presentation. So let's see if I can get this up on the screen. And let's see. I'm going to go to the slideshow from the beginning. There we go. I don't know about the delay tonight, so I apologize if this is the cover page of our listing presentation. So it is, when it's printed, it can be, we've played with the coloring. Sometimes it does appear too dark, and we've lightened it up so that our printer can take the color saturation. But if you have some difficulty or you want a different cover, that would be a custom listing presentation, and we can work with your image if you'd like. Of course, you want to make sure you have copyright, you're following copyright laws, and you own your own photography. This is our own photograph here, so we can use this one. But if you'd like to have your own custom house, if you want, say, the listing that you're going on, their front photo, or maybe a picture of the family, or something that really highlights the situation that you're working on or the project that you're working on, we can certainly change the front cover to match your needs. But this is what would be on the screen if you were presenting to a seller. It would be the cover of the PowerPoint. The next, and again, it's all animated when you do download this, so it's all set, ready to go with our colors. It looks very nice and professional. The next thing that you could share with your clients is our mission statement. This is our mission statement: to provide the highest quality, most innovative technology, unsurpassed local expertise, and unparalleled real estate services anywhere in the Puget Sound area. So I actually had my staff, all of my employees, try to memorize it, and some of them have received some prizes for memorizing the mission statement. But that is our drive as an organization, as a firm, is to make sure that our clients have the highest quality, most innovative technology, and unsurpassed local expertise, unparalleled real estate services anywhere in the Puget Sound region. Okay, so then it talks about, usually when I get to this point in the presentation, I'll ask the seller, and if I've already, got an introduction with the client, I won't need to go into detail with this. But, if this is my first time presenting, which I am for all of you on the call tonight, how I would do this would be, what do you know about Best Choice Realty? And they'll say, not much, or I haven't heard about you. Oh, I saw a few signs. This will help you lead into these slides right here. And it is meant to be more of a PowerPoint slide. So we were founded in 2012 in Seattle. It's a husband and wife team that opened the company. We have 4 offices now, and we actually have a satellite in Sequim and some other satellite offices, but 4 main offices that are Seattle, Tacoma, Sumner, and Linwood. So it really covers the Tri-County area, and we are expanding outward into other adjacent counties. We're 100% debt-free. We're smart about our finances, and our customers benefit because we are a profitable organization. We had $645 million in gross sales in 2018, and we have over 300 productive agents. Our firm is going through right now, and we are putting agents in a productive firm, and then we are also putting agents in a referral firm. So the agents that are working out of Best Choice Realty's main headquarters have access to the highest amount of referral and network anywhere in the Puget Sound region. And we are the fastest growing. So we were named the fastest growing independent brokerage in Washington State, and we participate in all of the Independent Brokers Association meetings. We are well known in the industry. You could also tout, and this is new stats that came out just last month, that we are in the top 10 for volume in Pierce County, and we're in the top 20 for volume in King County. So that is a major milestone that many brokerages never get to when they're forming a firm like we've formed. So you can certainly go through those numbers when you're talking with the client. Snohomish, we are growing because we just opened the office. And as we grow, I would say we're in the top 30, maybe 40. I'd have to get the exact statistic, but you know, that's something that you can add to later on down the road as we grow the office and we grow the exposure up in Snohomish. This is a bit about me. If you were to customize this for yourself, it's a about me or something like that, or my mission. We could customize this little header for you. But this is some of the brokers that are new to the company or new to the business. They will actually use my bio. That's perfectly fine. If you want to use my bio to explain that I'm personally involved in helping those first-time sellers or that seller that you're working with, I'm happy to have you include my bio. I'm a local, designated broker and owner for the company. Most people like that. They like to know that it's a boutique-like firm. That might be some key words that you can use to talk with the client. When I was able to skip through most of this because the client had a relationship and already had worked with me in the past. So I didn't have to go over these slides, but certainly you want to discuss what the company is about, who you are, and how you can what sets you apart from the competitors, especially if they're interviewing other people. You want to spend some time with this. Also, just a brief testimonial. Very pleased with Best Choice Realty, the amazing customer service and the attention to detail. You'll see when I go through this presentation, his name was Rod. When you go through this presentation, Rod, you'll see the amount of detail that I put into my presentation, but also into how I list your property. One of the things that we pride ourselves at Best Choice Realty is we're not just paid for our time. We're paid for our expertise and for our service. So our goal is to create the highest demand for your property and get as many buyers looking and competing for your property as possible. One of the ways we do that is that we know how to market your property on the MLS. This is an opportunity for you to not share, your competitors' names directly, but you can share with your seller or your future seller that some examples of maybe what you don't do. So, we market your home on the MLS just like many other brokers do. However, many of the competitors do it very poorly. They're either using their cell phone cameras, and we get a good chuckle. You get the sellers to really bond with you. When I started to explain that to Rod, my client, he started laughing. He goes, yeah, I know. When Jerry Kay was showing me properties, she was showing me properties that we couldn't even tell that it had a view out of the home. So we certainly want to showcase, the outdoor amenities and some of the other things that we have available in the complex. We were dealing with a condo last week, and he was going to list his condo with us. We want to stimulate as much of the buyer's needs as possible. This NAR profile is really set up to talk to those analytics. And Rod, my client, was an analytic. So the question I asked Rod when we got to this point is, do you think things have changed since you purchased your condo as far as how people look for properties? And so I said that, I asked him that question right before I turned to the slide. And he said, maybe a little bit more. I'm seeing more open house, as I'm driving around. And I would say I agree. And then I went to the next slide here, and it talks about internet, the real estate agent, and the open house being a much more of a driver in 2018 than some of the other things that come to mind. So you do have to understand the slide, but you can see the internet is really, if you're not online, if you're not promoting online, if you're not using social media, you can see from 2000 when we sold it to him in 2011, I believe, it's risen by a significant margin. So he can see how important it is that I'm keeping track of those statistics for him. So in 2019, we definitely want to focus on these three things, but we also want to keep in mind, Rod, that there are other ways that we can drive people to your property, and we don't want to leave any stone left unturned. That's how I explained that. The next thing I want to discuss with you, Rod, is how we market. And I told you that when we were going to meet tonight, that I would explain how we do that, how we broadcast your property and get as many eyeballs as we possibly can on it. We do it through social media a lot now, and we also broadcast on many of the portals. I know when we looked at your property, Rod, when we were looking to buy your property, you were on Redfin, you were on Trulia. Those are two of the sites that you use. Were there any other sites that you use that you think your property should be on? This is your opportunity to involve the seller in actually getting their buy-in on how their home is promoted. We want to market them, but we also want to provide some solutions where they may run into some obstacles. Rod could have said, Rochelle, I do not want my listing on Craigslist. I have an aversion to Craigslist. Well, it would be good to know that, especially when we can market to all of these places. Trulia, Redfin, Keller Williams, Google, John L. Scott, all of these different entities or these portals take the information that we put on the MLS, except for a few of them like Craigslist and SEBA and some other different portals, and it then syndicates automatically. But there are some manual processes, and this is how you can explain it to him or to your client when you're actually going through this. This is the slide to do that, is to ask them how you would envision your property being exposed to the marketplace. And online, as we saw from the previous slide, is very, very, there's a lot of exposure that we do, but I want to make sure that I'm really highlighting some of the things that make your property unique. I may try a different strategy on Craigslist, if I'm really isolating and marketing your property to the first-time buyer, which with this particular condo, it will be marketed to a first-time buyer. So we might create a different advertising campaign on Craigslist than we do, say, on Zillow or on Redfin or on the other sites. This is my opportunity to showcase my client that I know how to market and get maximum exposure. We also may want to diversify, distribution outlets. I might want to do one thing to one and do another thing to another, and then make sure that it's properly managed. I know for a fact, Rod, that when I've had sellers ask me at the close of escrow what they appreciated the most of my clients said they appreciated having me manage all of their online profiles. And what I mean by that is when their home is promoted or their condo is promoted on John O. Scott or Bing or HomeSnap, that, if there were some updates to price or condition or how we show the property, that I made sure that those portals were up to date. And that's something that I do at no additional cost for the seller. And they felt very comfortable with moving forward with me because I also marketed and had solutions for things that we ran into. You can share a story. This is a good opportunity to share a story between this section and this section. Sellers like to connect with stories. They want to know that you've had experience in dealing with certain situations. And so a lot of times I'll give them an example that many of the real estate people that they're going to interview or that they have interviewed, or maybe that are out there saying, I'll list your home, they have not done a good job. I explained to Rod when I met with him last week, that many real estate brokers have a love-hate relationship with Zillow, but my firm knows the importance because of the surveys that we've done, that over 31 million users use Zillow on a regular basis. And so our firm decided to form a relationship with the company Zillow and enhance our listings by providing prominent placement. It will get our sellers 3 to 5 times more views than any other listing that's out there. And then I pause and let them absorb that information, because they will agree. They'll kind of nod their head, they'll shake their head and agree with you. And that's what you want. You want them to agree with things that, now again, for now, that's the way it's done. Who knows what will happen in the next 5 years. But we do have a relationship with Zillow, and it is a positive one. So explain that, get their buy-in. They love that you have taken the time, and that your firm's taken the time to make sure that their home's exposed on all portals. Marketing strategies, many times they ask me, what do I do? This is the part that you need to lead in. So this is where you need to lead in and step into the punch when it comes to commission. Many sellers ask me, this is what I say on this slide, many sellers ask me how I earn my keep or how I earn my commission. And very clearly, I'm going to work with you closely from today forward in making sure that your home is properly marketed. There are strategies that are involved with doing that. And I'm very strategic at making sure your property is properly positioned in the marketplace. Now, there are steps here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are some important things that we need to consider, not only when we price your property, but how we market your property. So number one, as I walk through, Rod, I really appreciated what you did to the putting the crown molding in and really redoing the flooring. That will actually do a very good job at getting you full value for the property. So make sure you have some key kind of personalization or points you can talk about on how the seller has helped you. Maybe in the curb appeal, Rod, the saying goes is you make your money when you buy your property. And luckily for you, when we bought this condo, the curb appeal on it was outstanding. We found something that was in a safe area of the complex, that had a very nice walkout patio that was kind of against the green belt, and that was properly marketed so that people can access the property. That curb appeal goes a long way when we actually put it on the market. So well done on those 2 points. However, on the cleaning, one of the things I offer my sellers is an opportunity to either clean their property before we go on the market, or to clean it after you move out. And that sometimes is stressful depending on how you are moving. So I wanted to ask you, Rod, did you have a chance to consider when you're going to want to get this on the market? And then he'll usually have, well, what do you think, Rochelle? I mean, we've got a lot of stuff, I really do think you might want to declutter. This is where you really want to have a conversation about how you're going to prepare the property for sale. Any important repairs that need to be done, that needs to be addressed before you get into price, before you actually go over the pricing. So, we determined when we were on the spot here that he would appreciate just being able to move out, and then we'll have the cleaning crew come in and clean, and then light staging done. And I am going to lightly stage and clean the property at my cost. Now, again, you as a listing agent get the determination on how you're going to sell, or how you're going to price, and how you're going to charge for commission. So when I explained what I was going to do to earn the commission, not only with the marketing, but also with the cleaning and the preparatory things that need to be done to strategize with the client, he has no problem paying a full commission. So I get their buy-in really early on the commission rate, and then explain if I need to, the photography is very important. Photography will really show properties in their best light. So I'm going to have a professional come in, although I could take the photos. And I usually say this myself, I appreciate a good photographer and how they're able to get the right angles and the right lighting so that it shows your property in the best light. It also, I found that staging, and a recent statistic just said that 8%, they are able to sell for 8% more as long as it's staged. So it will really drive up the buyer's perceived value. So although you have some nice pieces, if you wanted to leave some of those larger, maybe the love seat or the the lounge chair or whatever you want to keep. If you want to leave some of the things, we can work with a staging company that can also bring in additional things that would enhance the value of your home. We really look at other properties in the area to determine whether a property should be staged or not. But ultimately, most of the time, we find that staging does help drive up the buyer's interest and does help us get the price that we set out to get. Okay, and then if you customize, there is those links. Let me go back real quick so you can see this. When you actually do the presentation, and we did customize your presentation, this little icon right here could link to an example of a staged home. Or on the photography one, we could link this also to, say, flyers that show maybe a before and after, or maybe something that you want to showcase on your website. We could link this up by having this into your presentation. All you have to do is click on that and you could show some sample work. A lot of times sellers like to see samples, and that's a great way to incorporate that into your presentation. One of the things we discussed with Rod is also part of the benefit of using Best Choice Realty is we have an open house strategy. And with the particular condo complex, it's difficult to find the condo. It's a gated community. It would be helpful, especially for first-time buyers on a weekend, to do a kickoff, what I call a kickoff open house strategy. When we do that, I pay for the company that Lisa Schultze RE, and they are like college or high school kids that come out on the weekend, and they put up approximately 15 of these little guys right here, these open today homes, open today signage, and then I go ahead and put up one of these, or I put up a particular complex. I don't have the ability to put this into the grass, but I can put up several A-frames throughout the complex with balloons. And I actually don't have to do the balloons. The college or the high school kids actually put up the balloons, and they usually tie balloons to each one of these to really direct traffic in. So I explained to my client that takes some money and some time and resources to be able to pull off an open house strategy. And he asked the question, is that necessary? And certainly when we're trying to get more eyeballs or more buyers coming through and touring the property in the first week or two, yes, open house strategies do work. If I needed to, I could have reflected back to that other slide where 8 or 10% of the buyers that may be interested in the property come from open house or come from the signage. So this is a good idea to also share. Now, if your seller is kind of risk averse, they don't want to have open house, that's okay. You could eliminate this slide from your presentation, but I definitely think it's a way for you to earn your commission or show that you're involved not only in just the pricing, the preparatory, the staging, the photography, but also in the open house strategy. There is a lot to be said about a good open house. We can provide all of these things for borrowing if you want in any of our offices, but also just we have a really great resource with the college or high school kids every weekend. You do have to give them a week's notice, so you can't just get it on the schedule for this Saturday. They're already booked. But if you plan ahead, you certainly can utilize their services, and I can get you in touch with them. The next thing we do when we go live on the market, Rod, is we make it really easy for people to spread the word about your property. And we do that with social media. And this is where you could link this up to your Facebook group or your Facebook page showing or maybe you have a Twitter, or maybe they're on social media through Facebook. We can provide them with the link of all of those different portals where they can then highlight or showcase it on their social media. And we found that works really well. Rod, when you actually have people that know that want a condo, that want a great investment, just like you have obtained several years ago, there's an opportunity for us to highlight or showcase it to other buyers that think like you and work like you. And then really it's important to utilize a good signage strategy. And in your case, it's a condominium, so we would just follow the rules that the condominium has set up for you. Do you know how you get your resale certificate? This is an opportunity with the condo where the resale certificate or the meetings of the minutes would be very important to get your hands on. And if Rod does not have those available, you'd want to get those from the property manager or have him order up the resale certificate or give you the authority to get that ordered up before you go on the market so that you can enhance the listing and provide the supplements needed to help the buyers know what is allowed and what's not allowed with the particular condo. Now, in a house situation, most of the time I'll spend time explaining how we promote what the quality looks like, how we provide a perma flyer, kind of like this right here on the sign, and flyers that are provided by a lender. I partner with a lender, so when we're dealing with first-time home buyers, or when we're looking for people who are wondering, do I qualify for something like this? This answers that question. It also has the ability to get more information without touring the property about what it looks like inside. And there's a really good way to get a direct call to action right from the sign. So we go above and beyond, and again, very professional signage to obtain what we need from that strategy. We also have a very strong network across internationally, where we have agents also at Best Choice Realty that speak over 15 languages that assist with bilingual needs. That's unheard of in our industry. There's very few brokerage firms that I know of that really sends the word out to the firm about homes that may meet their needs. We have people that speak Korean, that speak Chinese, Mandarin, even South African. There's dialects there that are very important to get your property listed and marketed. I don't speak these languages, but many people in our firm do. And we want to make sure your home is promoted internationally as well. So we have over 300 agents and over 15 languages covered. One of the other things my clients have told me is that they really appreciated how I helped them set the right price. So as I lead into that page, I want you to know that the price that we're coming up with today is only really valid if we go live on the market tonight. Are you prepared to go on the market in the next week? Again, I don't mean tonight, but the pricing is really set up to make sure that we've covered ourselves, to make sure that we have not left anything unturned. I've done a fantastic job. Again, you have to toot your own horn. You cannot expect that the seller is going to be able to read your mind. So you have to step into this and realize how much time and effort you put into preparing your CMA. So prior to going live on the market, Rod, what I've done is a comparative market analysis. It's very thorough. It goes through in great detail and uncovering all of the actives, the pendings, and the sold comparable properties within a mile radius of your home or your property. And if you decide that you do not want to go on the market in the next week, then what I will do is continue to watch the market and give you updates throughout your preparation so that when we do go live on the market, that we're not going to miss, say, a sold or miss that there was a price reduction, a significant one that will impact your bottom line. Sometimes I've been fortunate to see multiple offers on a pending property. It's pending when I use it for my market analysis, but then when we actually go live on the market, we see that pending property actually turns into a sold, and maybe it's sold for more. Sometimes, unfortunately, they pay for closing costs, which also is important to know. So one thing that's important to realize, Rod, is that we take important steps to follow up and make sure that the data we provide is accurate, up to date, and that we've made sure that we've created the right type of pricing strategy for you to work within your timeline. And we take great pride in getting feedback as we go through this process with you. So at any point in time, if you have questions about your pricing or the comparables that I'm going to go over with you, I want to involve you as much as possible. At this point, you could certainly ask him, what properties have you seen come on the market, or have you seen anything that I may have missed? This is an opportunity for you to build more trust and rapport with the seller before you go into the listing presentation, the actual pricing presentation. This is also a time where you could say, is there any questions? We can go ahead and get started. I have been able to take a listing, you guys, without even going over a CMA. You need to build secure trust throughout the presentation, involve the seller in the build-up, in the preparation, in the thoughtful discussions, making sure they're bought into how you earn your commission. And then there's no reason why you cannot take a listing contract without even going over price. Nowhere on the 1A is there a section that talks about price. There used to be back in the day, but now there is not. So you could take a listing tonight, 1A, as long as you have a legal description and you have a trio like we talked about, incorporate that, get the seller's buy-in, and actually get their signature on the listing agreement. We don't have to go on the market for 30 days. So I usually put my date out 30 days, and if I need to, I'll get an extension on that, but I do lock them in and I get their signature. If they're ready to move forward and working with Best Choice Realty and working with me specifically, there's no reason why they should not list with you. You have, throughout the presentation, if they throw an objection at you or about price or about commission or about how you properly price or stage or photograph, you have the resources necessary, or you can employ the resources necessary. We've talked about many options tonight and in past conference calls about some of these things. The last slide does have your contact information, and you can give them a copy of the presentation that you went through if you'd like after you present it. The other things that kind of has helped me in closing this, and I will show you a couple things before we leave, is I have provided, sometimes when I don't have a CMA because I've seen the property for the first time, but I've closed and got the listing, some of the things that have been helpful is this page right here. I've been able to know what Redfin's price point was and Zillow's price point and e-appraisal. And I've printed this out or referred to it. It is in the box if you ordered the box. This page specifically is in there. And I've reflected on that. I've even taken pencil and I've written in what Redfin says their property is priced at, what Zillow's property is priced at, and what e-appraisal has their home priced at. And I've penciled that in so that they know that I got that number. And what you'll find most of the time is that the listing price is not going to be what Redfin says, what Zillow says, or what an e-appraisal says. In fact, this property on Alki Avenue sold for over $2 million. So if we were to actually do price the home and list the home with Redfin's number or Zillow's number tonight, we would find that we'd be leaving approximately $250,000 on the table. So you can use that as a way to get them bought in that I've got a lot of work to do to make sure that we're pricing your home competitively and properly, and we don't want to leave money on the table. So what I'm going to do once we get done, again, this would be if I have to go back to the drawing board and do a second appointment to get a price for the particular client, but at least I have some information that will really get them excited about what I can bring to the table. And we can go over their pricing by phone or conference call, or I can drop it by in the next couple of days. It does take me, and I tell them, it takes me about 5 to 10 hours to really do an excellent market analysis on their property to take into account, like an appraiser would, how to properly assess the value of their home, the market value. And that's the critical number that everybody wants when they pay for a real estate broker. They may pay a real estate broker an extra percentage point when they know that they can, that a good marketer or a good person like me can really enhance their listing by providing the marketing that they need to get even more value out of their property than what you see here with Redfin or Zillow. So that's why they pay commission. They know they were working with a good negotiator, a good marketer person, a good communicator, and somebody that they trust. That's what they're looking for when they're interviewing you as a potential agent. Now, when I follow up with communication, this has been very helpful. When I print this out, I also will I penciled this out on the last one where I was up against 4 other people, and I was glad I did. The reason for that is because I asked them, on the other interviews you did they give you an estimated timeline and what it would look like? And they said no. And then I brought out this out of I had a blank one in their box, but I had this also printed with me along with the listing agreement and along with this online valuation. My notes on this, I had this printed, although it was in the box as well, and I had this market calendar printed as well, and I just put in the 1, 2, 3, the appropriate ones, since today is the first. It would have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I took a pencil and I wrote in, if I was to take the listing on Monday, when the day that I could go live, and it takes me time to put everything together. So I actually would not go live until this Thursday right here. So I have everything marked up as in a pencil, so I could easily erase it right there on the spot, the timeline on how things would play out. And it was so interesting to watch them get involved with this process. You know, the wife said, well, I've got family in town here. My grandkids are in town and I want to spend time with them. I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. We don't want to start preparing and staging and marketing your property until, you know, probably this next week anyways. And the photographer I can push back. I'll go ahead and, you know, I use the pencil and erase that one. And we can push that back to this day. And we just made it a working calendar. And it was so funny because after I got done marking it all up, he's like, okay, we've signed. So would it be possible to get a copy of this, or can I take your copy? I said, no problem. I took a picture of it. I gave him my marked up copy and they put that right on their refrigerator. So it was awesome how they really took to the calendar. I've done this strategy many times and it works beautifully. And it's a tool that you can use if you really want to get your seller engaged in the process. It does take a little bit of preparatory. You do have to put in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and kind of pencil or mark up the calendar in kind of a systematic way of when you would hire the photography and when you would have staging and when you would help them clean and when they'd have the cleaner come out, or when they would need to start boxing or get a storage facility. You do have to put some thought when it would go live on the market, when it would go on the social media channels, when you would do your open house. Those are some serious points. When you would review the CMA, when you would follow up with them on the reverse prospecting. All of this can be marked up on this calendar very simply, and I can share with you if you want a marked up calendar version at some point in time. I'd be happy to do that. So that's all I've got to share with you tonight. Hopefully this was helpful. The sample CMA, we will go over how to use Cloud CMA and what I do to enhance that experience for my sellers. And that would be the next thing. But really, I went through it slow enough that you could internalize it. My appointments never last more than 15 to 20 minutes when I go through a listing presentation. So you want to be very fluid. You want to memorize as much as possible. You want to ask questions and really get their engagement throughout. You don't want to be doing all the talking and just reading off of the slides. And again, I can do it in about 15 minutes if I was asking questions and being more engaged and flipping through, not just, you know, reviewing each slide one by one. So hope you have a great week, you guys. Good luck with your listing appointments. If you do want to have a custom one put together, you just need to go to bestchoicerealtyhomes.com /marketing/listings, and you have the custom listing presentation right here you can buy, and my staff will be able to put this together for you very simply, but you do have to provide them with what you're wanting to swap out, such as if you add these all up, it ends up being, I think, $20 or $25. So you can actually bucket this all together, and they will actually do up your custom pages for you. So that's pretty neat. Add it to your cart, and you'll then have to do a little bit of workup on what you want done. So that's for you guys to take on, and good luck with all your home selling and home buying, and let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you guys soon.